Hey guys, my name is Tara and today I'm gonna be talking about everybody's favorite topic, and that is some of the things that we're gonna be running down in this video is like, why do we choose self-deprecating humor? Is it toxic or does it benefit us? And so to start off, let's just define what I mean by self-deprecation. So self-deprecation is the act of reprimanding oneself by belittling, undervaluing, or disparaging oneself or being excessively modest. It can be used in humor and tension release. So why do we choose self-deprecating humor in the first place? There are actually three main reasons of why someone would choose to indulge in self-deprecating humor, as we as human beings do. The first reason is as self-defense. So let's just say I might have a certain insecurity about something, and so basically by joking about that insecurity, it's kind of like saying, hey, I already know I have this insecurity, you don't have to jab at me at it, I already know, and I'm gonna try and make it funny so that other people don't have to constantly tell you about your own insecurities that you're sort of already dealing with. And it can somehow also be used as an element of politeness. Back in the day, I think they used to use self-deprecating humor as a way of putting down your own achievements so that you could be seen as polite and someone who's not cocky or someone that boasts a lot. It can also be used as the one that we're going to be discussing today, relatability in comedic circumstances. So as we go into thinking about people's flaws and these sorts of insecurities that other people may have, and then by joking about it, it's sort of like, hey, we could use this as a coping mechanism. And we'll go a bit deeper into that in a second. A lovely subcategory within self-deprecating humor is the concept of disappointment. And I find it quite interesting how self-deprecating humorists use this concept of disappointment to reach out to an audience that feels the same way. For example, in Stephen L. Tanner's The Art of Self-Deprecation in American Literary Humor, he goes on to say, like many forms of humor, it is preoccupied with revealing the discrepancy between seeming and reality. It often takes the form of high expectations comically transformed into disappointments. The narrative personae are continually forming high estimates of themselves, which collapse under the pressure of actual situations. Now, this is sort of the factor that goes into relatability that is really oversaturated in YouTube, in my opinion, and we are somehow so intrigued and fascinated and just so into the concept of laughing at somebody else's demise that we might also relate to, possibly as a coping mechanism. But again, we'll dive deeper into the coping mechanism in a second. Stating the title of the video, I feel as if self-deprecating humor has been normalized due to the fact we as human beings love to be able to relate to one another, especially so exposing someone's more vulnerable. I'd rather not talk about that. That makes me a bit uncomfortable sort of side, because as we as a whole human race are extremely flawed. We have a lot of weaknesses as a human race. We also do have a lot of strengths. However, these weaknesses tend to be the focus of things a lot of the time, and these downfalls, we might be able to cope better with these sort of downfalls and these flaws of ours if we're able to joke about them, something really heavy and something that could make us feel bad about ourselves or other people. When we're able to sort of joke about them and lighten it up a little bit, it could be used as a coping mechanism to deal with these harsher emotions. And so, yeah, that's basically why I think it has been normalized, is because We need coping mechanisms. So before we get into the next section of the video, I'd like to run down a few hilarious self-deprecating humorous pieces of amusement. We have a lovely meme here. It says, who needs April Fools when your whole life is a joke? Huh, funny. So here we have a tweet. It says, me, young, naive, I hope something good happens. Me, now, I hope whatever bad thing happens is at least funny. Wow, hashtag relatable. And now we have a quote on a mug, and it says, wow, humor. Basically, the ultimate question that I'm trying to get about here is self-deprecating humor beneficial or detrimental to one's mental well-being? So, in order to tackle this very hefty question, we have to break this down into two different sub-pieces, categories, things. It's going to be the pros of self-deprecation and the cons of self-deprecation. So when is self-deprecating humor beneficial to one's mental well-being, and when is self-deprecating humor less than beneficial or detrimental to one's mental well-being? Running down on the first one, the pros, is that it can be used as a coping mechanism, as I was explaining earlier. Self-deprecating humor could be a way of, trying to boost ourselves up, trying to make ourselves feel better by laughing at ourselves, Another reason is that, take this with a grain of salt. I got this from a study. It can somehow link to having a higher emotional intelligence and also leadership skills. People that can admit to their failures or shortcomings with a smile are more approachable. Some may think that admitting to failures or faults reveals vulnerability, but really the best leaders must constantly judge their own capabilities as well as those of others. Now, I feel like, it's one of those things where I can say that there's probably no correlation, because self-deprecating humor and having this sense of self-deprecating humor can literally be a reason that could turn off someone from someone else. Like, it depends. I think it's more about balance. It's not the whole deal of our entire comedic flair, It can be sort of like more approachable. People might think you're like, oh, a cooler person if you're able to joke about yourself every now and again, but it can come to a certain point where people just get straight up uncomfortable talking to you because they just know you're gonna try and pull off some weird self-deprecating humor joke again. And it can definitely make a lot of people feel uncomfortable, and it can also make someone feel comfortable around you, depending on how it's used in moderation. In my opinion, basically the main deal and the main negative part of self-deprecating humor is we're about to go in the cons of self-deprecating humor. The more you say this to yourself, and if you fully agree with what you're saying to the point where you feel as if it's your life 100% of the time, then that's concerning. That is a bit concerning. I can laugh at a self-deprecating, humorous piece of amusement and still feel as if it is not my entire life. And I can step back and realize that this is probably only 20% of my life, and not all of my life completely sucks. If you feel as if you're joking way too much about yourself in a negative light, and if you feel like that's really 100% your life, then I'm afraid that there's something wrong there. And you should probably look closer at your habits and decide whether they're actually positively or negatively impacting you. Okay, final thoughts. I feel, as I was saying, with discussing the pros and the cons, I feel like it's all okay, it's all fine, it's all handy dandy, as long as we're doing this in balance and we don't feel like everything we're saying within this sort of humor is entirely our life, because that is a bit problematic in my opinion. I feel like this type of humor is really oversaturated with relatable YouTubers, you know? It's, after a while, self-deprecating humor just gets old, and God, I said self-deprecating so many times within this video. Also, before you guys say that I'm taking this too seriously, I take everything seriously, and that makes for YouTube content. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that I'm taking this way too seriously and that I should just chillax? Or do you guys somewhat agree with me or disagree? You know, I want to hear your opinion. Please let me know. Bye, guys. See ya.